As we step into a new year, it's time to reflect on the game-changing moments that define 2024 in the media and marketing landscape. From cutting-edge AI innovations to digital platforms shaking up the landscape, we've seen how tech is transforming the way brands connect with consumers. But what's next? In 2025, the pace is only going to pick up. The rise of immersive experiences, data-driven creativity, and next-gen marketing strategies are set to redefine the industry standards. So what's on the horizon for media and marketing leaders navigating this fast-paced, tech-driven era? Let's dive into the key highlights and the opportunities with Kartik Sharma, CEO of Omnicom Media Group India. Kartik, it's great to have you back in the studio.
Great being here, Delshad.
So let's rewind a little bit, Kartik, and tell me from an industry perspective and vantage, how has 2024 fared? Of course, it started off with a bang. We had elections, we had the IPL, and then H2 came in, of course, with festivities and all of that. So tell me, how has 2024 been in your view?
So as you rightly said, it's a year of elections, both the general elections and assembly elections, so a lot of activities around that. From a marketing standpoint, it was also a year of pitches. Probably close to 2,000 crores of pitches was held during the year. And still some of the results, I think agencies have been super busy waiting for the results. The third point is that there is the AdEx itself. It was, I would say, a mixed bag. The festivities, while we had a lot of hope on the festivities, it turned out to be slightly muted. While the digital platforms, some of the e-commerce platforms did very well, it was not a uniform kind of growth which we all expected. Having said it, it's a land of opportunities. So I'm an eternal believer in the India story, and I would tell everyone remain invested in India as a story. The other part from a marketing standpoint, from creative and creative side of the business, was more purposeful communication started emerging. Of course, as you rightly pointed out, a huge amount of excitement on the area of AI, a lot of narrative chatter, maybe some campaigns, and how most of the chatters are around the creative side of the business. How can you take a tool and maybe create an ad, so on and so forth, and that continues. So overall, very interesting year with lots of actions, particularly more it was a year busy because of the pitches, which almost all the agencies were participating.
Lots of pitches. It's been the year of pitches, 2,000 crore up for grabs. How has OMG fared? Are you happy with how the year closed out?
Yeah, I think firstly, it's been one of the best years for OMG in India. It's a fantastic performance by the entire team. For us, we call it the year of momentum. So we have been a momentum agency for the past 2 or 3 years, and that just from a narrative to actual validation is we are seeing. As of date, we have won in this calendar year more than 750-800 crores of business, which is huge. So it's a very happy outcome, and the reason why this has all happened is our relentless focus on being a very product-first company. With our global platform Omni, which even in my past interviews I've spoken to you about, and that is helping clients achieve all their brand growths. So very, very satisfying year. And we've also launched our sports practice Fuse, which is a global practice. So we are seeing tremendous traction in sports and also in the content practice, which continues to thrive year on year. So overall, a very good year, nothing to complain, and I hope this momentum continues.
There's certainly been a lot of news coming out of Omnicom as well globally. But Kartik, let me stay on this track for a little bit, because you mentioned sports is going to be a big bet for the group as well. IPL season, everyone's looking forward to. Of course, you launched Fuse recently. Tell me, what are you keeping your eye on? Where do you see the action, the growth coming from? Where are you seeing clients, looking to park major budgets when it comes to sport?
Sport, of course, cricket is the all-weather sport which will continue to drive interest across any category, any client. That continues. That theme continues, whether it is domestic cricket or whether it is IPL or any other form of cricket. But increasingly, we are seeing a bunch of categories and advertisers who are also looking at sports outside of cricket. So it could be a badminton, it could be tennis, it could be kabaddi. So India slowly is and very strongly becoming a sporting nation, which is very heartening to see, and not just a single sport nation. So some of the conversations that are also on how we can deliver a lot of value in terms of how we consult with the client. It is not about only sponsorship deals or stuff like that, which is one part, but how can you actually build brands using sports is becoming a mainstream topic for many of the clients.
So while we know, of course, that we are becoming a sort of multi-sport nation, not just very focused on cricket, even the way we are viewing and consuming sport, of course, is changing dramatically. Let me talk about, how that might change the whole idea of how we consume sport going forward. What are the big trends that you see happening in 2025?
So, as I said, cricket in a way is like religion in India. So that is not going to go away. So the natural interest towards cricket as a sport will continue. But some of these mergers, like the Reliance Disney merger and other bigger players coming into the market, what it will do is it will open up the appetite for other kind of sports. Of course, we have already seen trends around kabaddi, but many other sports which are not getting its due share, slowly and steadily will start getting in. Because India is a large nation and different types across geography. For example, football is an opportunity. Tennis is an opportunity. There are many multi-opportunities. And these mega behemoth media companies can actually look at how do they create value for the advertiser and also for the audience. And it's just a matter of time when that will start happening.
Absolutely. We spoke briefly about AI. It's been, of course, 2024 has been a big year. Everyone's talking about it. We've previously spoken about how there's a lot of hype, a lot of fear, and all of this emotion around AI. Keeping aside that emotion, Kartik, tell me, I mean, how have we gone from tactics to tangibles? When it comes to deploying AI-driven tools and technology in getting that growth for your clients?
I think, firstly, an excellent question. AI is a topic which globally everyone is trying to get their head around. While there is a lot of hype, several companies, including us, are actually trying to operationalize it to the best way possible. And AI has to be done in a very ethical way because the field is very vast, and whatever we do as a company, we will always do it in an ethical way. That said, there are some very simple steps that companies have to start doing, and the way to do this is start doing small pilots, start doing smaller automations using AI. Those are easy wins. From the creative side, I know a bunch of people are trying to do various, which I mentioned earlier. There are several AI tools available. How can they actually coexist? And how can the human intelligence improve whatever AI is given? It is not this versus that. It is both and. I will use the AI tool and I will put the human intelligence augmented intelligence. So I think it's happening globally, and we are also seeing some of those trends happening in India. But many more things to do, more case studies to be done, more use cases on how you will apply. We as a company, we have already gone the path of using generative AI and what we call AI agents to do some of these tasks. And some early signs of what we have done, experiments across the globe on Omnicom, we have seen some very good results. And as we go forward, you will see the AI use cases. So use cases are in the zone of, say, ROI in marketing. Use cases are in insight mining. Use cases are in automation. There are multiple use cases one can actually do with AI, and also even creative creation of a lot of ads, say 100,000 ads on the fly using AI. All this can be done and achieved over a period of time. It's a journey, really, Delshad.
The fear around jobs and job losses because of any kind of AI technology is significant and also justifiable. What would you say to, not just your employees, but everyone essentially, in areas specifically where we will see heightened use of AI and very early use?
So the early use case, I think whenever a new technology comes in, it's a natural reaction for humankind to have a potentially negative outlook towards what will happen. It's a very natural reaction, whether it's our employees or any other technology. Having said that, the early use case will be wherever there are repetitive tasks, where boredom is likely to set in. AI can solve that problems easily. The best way to deal with this is to actually learn more about it and not sit on the fence and just be part of narratives. But if you start learning, you will actually see there are many good use cases, and it's not that all jobs will go. Maybe certain repetitive jobs are likely to do. So the people who are doing those type of tasks have a great opportunity to move upward in the ladder to do another type of task. You also need, so take any of the Gen AI tools. I'm sure you would have tried some of those tools.
We've all experimented.
We all experimented,
bit,
right? The key isn't writing the prompt. So how smartly you write the prompt.
So will we all become ChatGPT operators then, essentially?
Based on what we have seen today, that is the short answer, maybe yes. But I think there are far more deeper use cases. This will evolve. See, we are reacting to what we know today. We don't know what is there in store for us tomorrow, and that's the exciting part. So the idea is to keep learning, keep an open mind, and see how we can adapt and use it and not be fearful of something which is likely to happen. All this is signaling that if human beings have to move forward, they have to constantly improve the learning. You cannot be in a static phase and say next 20 years, this is the way it is going to be. So these are exciting times for all of us to, jump into it, learn more about it, and do trial and error, do pilots, make even maybe small mistakes, and that's how the evolution will happen.
So that's going to be a big theme, I think, in 2025: upskilling, learning,
absolutely,
really deploying AI in that sense. Kartik, let's zoom out at this point and just talk about how media has across the board grown, and AdX, your view. We were briefly talking about it earlier as well. Sum up 2024 for us across media, and tell me what your outlook is going to be for 2025 when it comes to AdX.
While the final numbers are not in because we are doing this interview in December, my guess will be we'll somewhere net out 24 growth or 23 at somewhere maybe 11 to 12%. Having said this, 2025 based on current corporate India earnings, there is a slight cause for worry, while structurally India is a great story, and I keep saying this again and again. I'm a great believer in India because this is the one nation where look at the GDP growth, 6.5–7%, even if the estimates are down. No country in the world has this kind of growth. So we will continue to grow. And the challenge for next year could be the growth rates based on what we are seeing on the last quarter earnings. Seems to be slightly challenging. Maybe it will be, in my guess, it will be around 9 to 10% and not the historic 14–15% which India is used to. If the next 2 quarters or 3 quarters things become much better, then of course AdX will grow. The second challenge on why AdX may look a bit challenged in 2025 is the consumption slowing down in the urban economy. Enough has been said in media, so I won't belabor the point. So consumption has to grow up in some of the broad-based sectors. Strangely enough, some of the premium categories are actually doing well. It's the broad-based sector where the challenges are. And once that kind of comes back into action, we'll see growths jumping up and the GDP will grow maybe even 7.5%.
So which premium categories do you have your eye on?
So we handle a lot of auto brands, so autos for sure. Then a lot of the luxury products, which are their beauty products on the premium end, we see at a category level huge growths happening.
Let's talk about, of course, the perennial question that we always ask you, Kartik, which is TV, linear, CTV, digital, print, radio. Give me your overview of the kind of growth you expect to see or the lack of it in 2025.
Okay, I think there will be a bit of stress on the linear TV growth compared to 2024. However, CTV will see a huge growth. As we have seen in 24, that trend will continue to grow even in 2025. Digital has been a medium which we all know has been growing, and while that growth will be there, a lot of SMEs backing those growth. So we have several million SMEs who are actually on digital, which it's not reported enough in media, and that will continue to grow because they are small entrepreneurs or small business owners who are actually coming into some of the platforms and keeping that a very vibrant medium. Print will see some growth at the back of regional print consumption in the mid to higher single digit, I would say. I'm also hoping some of the revival which is likely to happen on cinema, but it will be in pockets. It will not be like a national level. So you may see some of the southern cinema doing much better because of the cost of production being lower and not necessarily as much as Hindi. But if Hindi catches up, it will be good because we are a nation where we produce more than 1100 to 1200 films. So it's natural. Even on radio, if you were to see, the streaming platforms are doing very well, and that will continue. But even the non-streaming platforms, they are growing at the back of adjacencies on things like events and activations, which they have been doing. So you will see a growth happening. It is not a degrowth or anything story, but the pace of growth is what we have to keep eye on because of the earlier point which I made on the corporate earnings. Because the earnings don't come in. The first tendency is to cut down on marketing budgets. And so I'm watching all the corporate earnings closely. And I hope this quarter turns out, I seriously hope, is much better than the previous quarter.
Let's stay on streaming, Kartik, for a little bit, and tell me, because of course we've seen a lot of action in the space as well. We briefly spoke about Reliance Disney deal, and more recently Prasar Bharati launched its own OTT waves. What do you see happening there in 2025 in terms of advertiser interest and just content, the boom that we're seeing?
So, of course, there's going to be a continued interest in the streaming services. Content ecosystem itself is gearing up. It's a great way for new talent to come in. And slowly and steadily, also just the consumption, which is very top metro driven, will also start going into the smaller towns and tier 1 towns and so on and so forth. It's just how much that they want to do and what pace. At this stage, I don't want to speculate a number, but directionally, I think India will become a very broad-based even streaming market. While today it is more skewed towards a few metros, it will slowly start going across the country.
Speaking of content, Kartik, of course, we've seen this massive wave of short-form video content really taking over, all platforms, all feeds. From you have, of course, reels, you have shorts, you have the homegrown players and platforms. This kind of growth, 2025, what do you think will happen when it comes to short form video? What are clients looking for? How do you crack that? Because there's a lot of murkiness as well there.
Absolutely.
How are you measuring? How are you even measuring something like that?
Yes, there's a lot of dark side of what is happening on the influencer ecosystem. And while there are some tools being developed, industry is cognizant, clients are cognizant, agencies are cognizant about any numbers being claimed by any of the so-called influencers. And yes,
and platforms?
And platforms too. Too. So more independence, third-party verification is the way to go. Experiments and being more real. So if every influencer claims I have 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, whatever numbers, that's not the truth. We all know this. And the independent verification and tests there are also good measurement companies which actually help us do that. So that's one part. And that due diligence lies both on the advertiser agency to do it carefully and not just jump into any and every influencer.
What do we need to watch out for in 2025? What's your order looking like?
Not order, but 4 or 5 things which are running in my mind. I think from a marketer's standpoint, we are in some way going to come a full circle in 2025. So reach is going to become very important. So when the digital ecosystem started, the ability to do targeting pushed the entire industry towards extreme form of performance marketing. And it's heartening to see that slowly that is changing to a good balance between brand and performance. The reason is very simple. At any category level, there are only maybe 5 or 7% in-market audience. There are 90-95% who are not in the market to buy any product. So if you're putting whatever dollars, you have to put to address in-market and outside market. I think that sensibility towards how we address those audiences, and therefore this brand versus performance is coming back. And therefore reach has become critical. Doing extreme level of narrow casting, that I think that era is gone. That's one of the things which will impact both the advertiser agency and therefore even the media. The second point is quality of the reach. Not all reach are equal. Not all GRPs are equal. That's where attention starts to come in. And because the amount of choice that we have today, and there are studies after studies, when you have multiple choices, it becomes a complex system. Decision making becomes complex. Even consuming media becomes complex. So therefore, that layer on top of reach is actually attention. And there are sophisticated ways to measure attention. There are tools to do that. And you will see increased use of that. The third, which I've said it in many of my interviews, and I'm a great believer, is holistic measurement. Because you can do everything, you can spend all the money, but if you really don't know what you're getting for the money. So again, with what we spoke earlier on AI, whether you use AI as one of the ingredient to measure or any other sophisticated technique, measurement is supremely critical so that you know that every dollar that you put, what is the value you're getting? How is the entire ecosystem? How does, say, TV impact digital, digital impact outdoor, outdoor impact cinema? That ecosystem needs to be understood, and it is not a one simplistic view of how marketing works. What we have learned in the last year for sure is what works for a brand. For another brand in the same category, the ingredient is very different. So it is not like you take this and you just apply it. So there's more granular amount of work to be done.
Well, thank you so much for your time again. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you, Kartik.
Thank you, Delshad, for having me.